All right. Hey everybody. I am Jaxler, and this is SpongeBob's Truth or Square. So there's a good chance you might not have ever heard of this game, and that's totally okay. No experience is required to experience the insanity of the speedrun. So we're gonna be doing a any% no LSG speedrun. Uh, we'll explain a little bit more what that category name actually means in a sec. But for now, the best way to think about it is as an all-level speedrun. But there's some more technical stuff to it that we'll explain. But time starts on new game. So Swizz, whenever you're ready. All right. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So this game is a 3D platformer released on. It was a multi-platform release, so it came out on the Wii, Xbox 360, PSP, and DS. But this version of the game comes in the Wii and Xbox 360 flavors. We're going to be doing the run on Xbox 360 today. It's going to save us a ton of time on loads throughout the course of the run, so that's the main reason we're going to pick this version. There's some other benefits as well, so which we'll get into a little bit later. But this is the first level, jellyfishing. This first section, we're gonna have a robot fight here. I'm looking for. Okay, good. So these robots lined up for me to be able to hit them in what's called double. Essentially, we're hitting them both with the same swing, so we don't have to execute as many attacks. Small little optimization. These robots have the ability to wander around before the beginning of the level. Normally, you can manipulate them to move towards you by aggroing them. But during the loading into the level, the initial cutscene, they get the chance to wander around a bit. So there's nothing I can really do other than react to the pattern that they give me. But they cooperated rather well there, so that was pretty great. These next set don't wander around too much. So if I walk to this position, these next two should line up perfectly for me. And they're just going to look really confused for a moment as I kick their scrap metal in. And oh gosh, he wandered way over there. That's unfortunate. That happens every now and then, but I only waste a couple of seconds. So we're going to take a little shortcut up this boardwalk, up to this ledge right here, and grab the last robot. Now I'm going to set up for a little trick here that stays around 20 seconds or so, called Tiki Jump. I'm going to jump off this Tiki with a tight timing, and just give me 1 second. It's tough. Okay, there we go. So essentially there's a little bit of that cliff that extends past the fence, and you can get your jumps back off of it. Seems like a really innocuous little thing, but this game doesn't have coyote frames, or rather any leniency or a window after you leave the ledge to enable a jump. So it makes a lot of the platforming a bit harder than it actually looks on screen here. But we're going to be coming through this next section. It was a blink and a miss thing, but I did a little speed tech called animation cancel. Essentially, when I hit that button, just when I started this section, I hit the wall at the same time, which shortened up the animation. You'll see me doing that a bit throughout the run, but it's just a little frame saver. It adds up, though. And then we're going to come up to the first really big breaks of the run, which are the barrel jumps. These are infamous for being run killers, because not only are they tricky, they're also tricky to do fast and optimal. We're essentially going to use these barrels with really wonky physics as platforms to skip most of these next few areas in jellyfishing. Okay, this barrel looks good. Nice. So I made that look really easy, but that barrel can be really finicky there. I used the plank over to the right as a sort of slope to get that lined up. We're gonna grab this power up over here and do another animation cancel to unlaunch this barrel over here. Now for this barrel jump, I have to get it standing upright to get enough height. So I'm gonna bank it off of this wall. I'm taking a little bit slow here. Good. And then I can get off the ledge. That was really clean. So yeah, that was a really good start to the level. Got a couple more things up before we finish it off though. So we're gonna jump on this railing right here and use that to get down to the bottom of the slide in order to avoid the corkscrew around the pillar. And then we've got this final fight here. So there's a lot going on in this fight under the hood that's really difficult to summarize in the 30 seconds to a minute it takes to beat the fight. But I'm essentially doing the robots in a very specific way. Oh, this is one of the strangest patterns I have ever seen. I am very confused. That doesn't usually happen. Alright, so we're gonna adapt a little bit to the pattern here. I'm using the stereo sound to keep track of the robot noises to just kind of give me an idea of where the robots are going to be spawning. So I got a pattern of 3. Oh wow, what a whiff. Not a big deal. Alright, so that was a really unusual pattern, but we made it work. The goal of that fight is to try to prioritize the 3 blue robots because the game is going to prefer to spawn those in over the green robots. Because the fight typically tries to end on a swarm of 3 spinner bots. So you have to sort of manipulate when you kill certain classes of the robots there in order to make sure that you get, you want to avoid the game stalling and spawning in robots. So we avoided that, so that fight was generally well done. Aside from that really bizarre pattern that we got. So that generally tends to be a bit of a reset-heavy level. And this level coming up used to be a really big reset-heavy level too, until we found a new setup for about a couple of months ago by complete accident. So I'll explain what that is getting into this level. So we unlock a new power at the beginning of this level called the Spin Slap. If you're familiar with some of the other Spongebob games, it's like the Bubble Wand or the Karate Spin where it... Did I just crash? You've got to be kidding me. Are you serious? My Xbox just crashed. Well, that's not happened in an extremely long time. Oh, great. So yeah, is that all right? I don't like I can. All right, I'm so sorry, everybody. We're gonna try that again from the top. Holy crud. Murphy's Law applies in a big way. Holy moly. All right. Sorry, y'all. Wow. That's a new one. I literally have no clue why that happened, but luckily it seems like we're a little bit ahead after Drunk Wario's Dead Rising run. So we're only very ahead, right? Oh boy. You hate to see it happen. All right, so let's try that from the top again. Hi everyone. I'm Jaxler, and this is SpongeBob Stupid Square. This is a 3D platformer game that you've probably never heard of, but if you have it, that's totally okay. You do not need any experience. No experience is necessary to witness this kind of crazy speedrun that we're going to show off today. So this category is called Any Percent No LSG. We'll explain why we're doing this category in particular, but just for a quick summary, this category is essentially an all-level speedrun. But like I said, we'll explain what no LSG stands for when it becomes a bit more relevant. So time starts when we hit new game. So let's get popping in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so the first thing you'll notice is we're playing on the Xbox 360 version of the game. This game also came out on the Wii, the PSP, and the DS, but the latter two versions are kind of their own game, or different in a significant way. We're playing on this version specifically to save around 3 minutes or so in loading times over the Wii version. There's also a couple other benefits, such as 60 FPS, better graphics, and not having to use motion controls. So those are the big benefits here. So in this first level, called Jellyfishing, we're looking for these robots to line up in such a way where we can hit them with one swing. We generally just call that a double. And it looks like we've got a nice one lined up here. Oh wow, thanks game. Alright, so I'm gonna, okay. So Spongebob was acting kind of rude there with his movement. Sometimes he likes to do this weird strafe movement after you swing the hammer. So I missed my double there. Thanks game. But anyway, these robots have the ability to wander around as the level loads in, and while the level is loading in, you can't aggro them to manipulate them around. So I have to react to whatever pattern I get. So that was a good pattern, it's just the game kind of oofed me a little bit right there. But this next spot we can actually manipulate fairly well here. So I go right to this spot right here to get these robots to line up perfectly for me. They're just gonna stand around and look blankly into the distance while I kick their scrap metal in. Okay, so this guy, oh gosh dang it. he decided to get spooked on me, so I missed a double there. So I was able to connect one of the hits though, so not a big deal. But wow, the robots are really not playing nice this run. That's unfortunate. So right here, I'm gonna set up a trick called Tiki Jump. It's essentially gonna let me jump to that ledge over there without hitting that button and doing some minor platforming. And I goofed it just a little. Spongebob, get on the platform, please. Thank you. All right. So there's a little bit of that ledge that extends past the fence there that you can use to get up and over. It says around 20 seconds or so. And then you see me hammer there right as I hit the jump pad. The reason I do that is when you get running momentum into a jump pad on your first bounce off of it, it can... Thank you. It can cause you to have some really wacky momentum and get you caught under the platform there. So I do that as a precautionary measure more than anything. It loses frames, but it really doesn't matter outside of a task setting. Alright, so after this segment of... Jeez, this game is really trying to make me suffer today. After this segment is the first really big set of skips of the run called the barrel jumps. There's going to be these barrel props coming up that you can actually push around and have physical hitboxes on them, which allows SpongeBob to stand on them and use them as platforms. So we're going to be skipping this big section of platforming over here by using a barrel instead. So I'm going to use this sort of plank over to the right as a little slope to roll it into position here. Do you want to cooperate, game? Please? There we go. Okay, that barrel was a little rude. But we're fine. We got over the ledge. This next barrel looks is a bit harder because we actually have to get it standing upright. So I'm gonna grab this power up here for later, and then I'm gonna do what's called an animation cancel against the wall just to break the box. It reduces the size of my hitbox, so I have a backup barrel for later in case this barrel gets stuck, which can happen sometimes. But I'm gonna roll this barrel up the wall, and that lets me get it standing upright. That was really clean. So yay me, that barrel went a lot cleaner than I expected. So we're coming up towards the end of the level now. We skipped a fairly significant chunk of it. I'm going to skip going around the corkscrew part of the slide here by using the railing as a platform. That saves around 5 to 7 seconds or so. Probably more like 10 actually. So we're going to grab this power up, which makes us invincible and destroy robots really fast. There's a lot actually going on in this fight. Under the hood that's really hard to capture in the minute and a half or so that it takes to complete. The basic premise is that I'm prioritizing the blue robots because the game loves to spawn them in groups of three. This is a really weird setup. So I'm making sure that I'm listening to audio cues and the different audio channels to make sure I know where the blue robots are spawning in. Oh, I almost got the T-cycle. If you do that fight correctly, you can get all of the robots on 2 power-ups, but I was just a tad bit slow. So I had to kill him with the upgraded buff power-up. But that was a really clean fight at the end there. That looked really good. So I was complaining earlier about the level being mean. It was only just like a couple of seconds, so I'm honestly really happy with that JF. Being within like 15 seconds of my PB. It's really hard to do that level consistently. Also, you should note that there is loading screen trivia, and I encourage everyone in chat to participate in trying to get the correct answer. You will note that I will be pressing the A button to get the answer to the trivia immediately, because it saves 5 seconds off every loading screen. That's another reason why Xbox is faster than Wii, is the Wii version doesn't have the ability to do that, which I don't know why. But it's a thing. So we're going to be loading into Kelp Forest, one of the trickiest levels in the entire run, if you thought JF was kind of crazy, or jellyfishing. So I'm going to spin to the left of that to give me a little bit of boost. That's called a paddle boost. And I'm going to focus here for a bit. I'm going to be going for an out-of-bounds clip right off the bat. So let me try to line this up real quick. This looks good. Uh-oh. Alright, I'm gonna go for a backup strat here. Almost. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna let him kill me. That's unfortunate. I was just a tad bit off on my positioning there, so I'm gonna try to go for the out of bounds again, because it looks really cool. This is probably gonna put me back about 30 to 40 seconds or so, so not a big deal. We'll make it up by the time that we sit doing this trick. This looks a bit better. Game, do you want to put me through the wall, please? Huh. I am not sure what's wrong with my positioning here. Let's try this again. It's kind of an important trick, so...
I am the sponge!
What the heck? Why isn't this working? Okay, we're gonna go for an old school backup strat then. There we go. Okay, so I was attempting to do a hammer clip to get through a wall there, but the game decided to be a complete jerk and not give it to me with like multiple different. It's really not that hard. I really don't understand why it's working. So you get to see some old school strats here. I did a trick there to get over here called a hammer boost, where I essentially it's as simple as it looks, although it's really hard to set up. You essentially have the hammer bot swing at you, and while he's swinging at you, it extends his hitbox upward. So if you put Spongebob right there, it can boost you over a ledge. And let us get to this fight. And right there, I just did a trick called a spin boost. Essentially, right before I came into contact with the enemy, I jumped and immediately spinned. And that allowed me to get a giant height boost. So if we did the out of bounds clip, we would probably end up about over here, so... this level is going really rough so far. I honestly have no clue why I was having so much trouble there. Which is kind of unfortunate, but we're gonna grab this power up here. I'll explain what it does in a second, but I gotta set up for another spin boost to skip this this platform in segment. So I'm gonna lure the spin bot over here, and then get up here. And then you're gonna see me do like this movement that we call a spin hop, which is essentially the shortest little jump that you can get, followed by a spin. So this power-up has two properties. One is that it deals double damage, and two, it allows you to go further in the air with a spin move. But the way that they programmed it is that it just gives you an outright speed boost. So as a result, if you do a short hop followed by a spin, you can abuse that speed and then get back to the ground as fast as possible to chain another one. And it allows you to gain a significant amount of speed. And so on flat planes, you're going to be seeing me do it a lot to speed up my movement. So it's really important that I hold on to this power up for as long as I can. The catch, though, is that as soon as I take damage with it, I lose the power up. So I have to be really careful. So this is probably one of the trickiest spin boosts in the run. So I'm going to let this guy spawn in and then instantly kill him. That's going to put a spin bot right over there. And then I have to go for this spin boost from downtown. We got it. Okay, I'm going to go for swag here. Okay, kind of swag. I was going for a paddle boost there, but the game decided not to give me the momentum I wanted. The game is being a giant jerk to me today. I have no idea why. This is kind of unfortunate. But we're making it work. So more spin hopping through here. I'm gonna go for a trick up. I had to only say it's 1 second, but it looks really sick. So this is gate skip. That is not going to work. I don't know what the deal is. I've been practicing for like 3 hours this morning, and now the game's just falling apart on me. So you're normally supposed to grab the Sandy power up to get through all these Venus flytrap flowers, if you will. There we go. But you can just jump between them because their hitboxes are trash. So I did another spin boost to skip finding a hidden button, and now we're going to the mini boss of this stage. Directly inspired by the Beatles here. We're gonna lure him over to the wall here, and he's gonna stop a spin attack as soon as possible. And then you're gonna lure him over to this wall, so his next spin attack is even shorter. Okay, there we go. Now he's gonna attack me, and because we have the buff power up all the way at the end of the level, which the game doesn't really intend us to have, we deal double damage to the boss as well, so he goes down really quick. John Lennon is defeated, and now we're gonna be rewarded with another happiness object. So I'm gonna stand right this spot, and hopefully the game will push me. Yep, there we go. So the hitbox of the treasure chest will push me straight into the object and complete that level for me during the cutscene, which takes about 5 seconds or so. Alright, and now we're finally getting over to the first boss of the game, which is Robopat. We'll talk about a little bit about him in a sec. But I'll kind of talk about Now's a good time to talk about exactly what this category is. So this category is any percent no LSG, which stands for no level skip glitch. So what that means is there are several instances in the levels where you can go out of bounds to either collect one of those happiness objects early, or like at the end of the level, or you can hit a trigger from out of bounds that just instantly triggers the end of the level. So this category bans those tricks for two reasons. One, it skips a lot of the level, in most cases, because you can do it right from the beginning. And second of all, in Murmelair, which we do because it takes like 10 seconds anyway to set up, you can actually do it repeatedly in order to trick the game into thinking you've beaten levels that you haven't, and it lets you skip half the game. So in order to create a just kind of a more fun category, not more fun, but just kind of to create something that mixes things up, we created this category that essentially functions as an all levels category without that glitch. So in the levels coming up after this boss fight in Act 2, so in the Santa level, and the Murmelair level, and some of the levels after that, you're going to be seeing us do some really cool strats and improvisations to get around that restriction. So just to keep in mind, we're still able to go out of bounds and use the out of bounds that enables those glitches. We're just gonna not make use of that specific glitch. Alright, so this is RoboPat. Essentially what we're trying to do is get to the robots in waves as fast as possible and kill them. We really want to avoid the spinner robots activating their attack, because if they do, they'll clink off of us and that wastes a second or so. But this is going pretty decent so far. Relatively simple fight, so not too much to talk about here. But every phase introduces some new stuff, but by manipulating from left and right the way I do, we can always make sure that he's in a good position for us to give him a butt kicking. Literally. There he goes. So the game's gonna give us a bunch of useless shiny objects and such. And we're gonna get rewarded with a green hot dog. Don't ask. I don't get it either. Alright, so there is a small chance that this loading screen will take an extra 15 to 20 seconds to load. That's called slow load. Let's hope that we don't get it. I'll be able to find out pretty soon if I got it or not. But let's see here. Yep, we got slow load. Okay, so the game is just utterly trashing on me today for no discernible reason. We literally had to do another run through of this because the game had a freak crash at like the very first few minutes of the run. So yeah, the game has been, I don't know what the deal is today, but we are making it work. That's the best way I can describe it. So this is fry cooking. We're gonna get our next and actually final new ability here, which is called the cannon shot. It allows us to shoot a projectile attack, which is gonna be used for puzzle solving here. But it's actually gonna be really useful in this run whenever we don't have the buff power up for combat encounters, because it has a really high rate of fire, and it also has a little cooldown too, so it's really spammable against enemies. So it's not going to be relevant quite yet, but it will be very soon. So this game is actually tied into the 15th anniversary special of Spongebob This Show called Truth or Square. It was a special it was a special promotional episode. So all these levels are based. Oh gosh, can you move out of the way, Spongebob? Thank you. So that doesn't lose me any time, but that just goes to show that the game is literally throwing everything at me to be as big of a jerk as possible. So spinner robots can reflect your projectile attacks, and that big spinner bot will get in your way every now and then, but it's fairly rare. So I had to wait for him to wander out of the way, and sometimes he just won't, so you have to kill him, and that way saves more time. But luckily that's cycle based, so that really didn't lose me any time. It's just the game is being really combative this afternoon, and I honestly have no clue why. So if I still manage to get a solid time with all this goofiness going on, then I'm gonna be really happy. But now the level's gonna start to kick into overdrive. I'm gonna jump around to the this side of the pier to skip about a 5 to 7 second cutscene. And then we're gonna skip this rather large puzzle segment by using these propeller hitboxes to get over the invisible wall. And then I land on like the horn there, and because when you fall from too far, Spongebob will take an extended landing animation. So by hitting that, we break his fall a little bit and skip that animation, which saves about a second and a half. So this is a gauntlet of 3 really tough tricks. That's the first one. The second one is right here, called Tough Skip. This rock doesn't actually have any collision. They just wrapped it around an invisible wall, but not well enough, so I can just jump up here and get over here early, and that saves around 7 seconds or so. And I'm gonna jump up this barrel, and then activate this on purpose. So this is another part of this puzzle that you're supposed to do. But we do it intentionally to keep this propeller activated so I can get on top of the lamppost and skip the rest of it. I made that look really easy, but that that wall is really high, so I'm really happy that I hit that first try. Okay, go away, please. So now we're gonna be putting Squidward to work here. He's by far the most overpowered helper friend in the entire game. His rate of fire is so high that the spinner robots that normally reflect against your projectile attack just completely whiff and go right through their hitboxes. It's hysterical how broken he is. So you're gonna see him come back a bit when he gets the chance. So that's the gauntlet of 3 tricks. That went very well, except for the fact that we got slow load, obviously. So I'm gonna be going for another paddle boost here. This is gonna look really scary. Come on, man. There we go. And then we're gonna skip a pretty big bend of the track here by just jumping up the pipe. Rather, it looks as easy as it is. And then I'm gonna go for some bank shots up the wrong side of this bumper in order to skip some cycles. My positioning was off, so that makes sense. That one's the harder one. This one's pretty much easier. And now, got it. Okay, so we got 1 out of 2. That's really good. Usually you're hoping for at least 1, but both of them are rather tricky. And then I'm actually gonna wait for the object to spawn in, or else it'll click into the chest, and that's really, really bad. So yeah, that's the end of Frog Coke. That went really well from a human input standpoint. All right, so now this is where the run really starts to diverge from the standard 80% category, because from this point forward, places we would normally do the level skip glitch are coming up. So now we have to do some really interesting strategies. So coming up is Santa, which is one of my favorite levels in the entire category, just because this is normally a level that we skip entirely with the level skip glitch, but we get to do some really cool out-of-bounds strats instead. So it's going to look really crazy and hard to follow, but I'm going to do my best to explain exactly what's going on here, because this is going to be a lot to take in here. So I'm going to start off by cannon shotting this robot, because he can shoot you from out of bounds. And then use these ice cubes to get on top of these steam vents. And now we are out of bounds. So there's a bit of the floor that extends past the invisible barriers of the map. So I'm going to be trying my best to stay on top of them so I don't void out. And then these crates all have collision for some reason, which I use to get onto the platform behind the door. This is the starting platform now. Then I use this canister as a platform to get over to this part of the level over here. And now what we need to do is we need to get back in bounds. So we've skipped a major portion of the level already. What I'm gonna do is unload part of the level and then reload it in to make these doors spawn in and clip me through them. So I can ride them up to the top of this tunnel. There's a faster way of doing this, but using the doors is a bit more marathon safe. It only costs you a couple of seconds. So we do that in order to get enough distance to get over to here. And then I do an intentional death warp here after hitting a invisible checkpoint trigger, and that loads me inbounds. Now, this pipe has no collision on the curve to it, but it does on the up and down part of the pipe. So I'm gonna abuse that to get over the barrier. And then there's another instance of that coming up if you missed it. So this pipe just doesn't exist, which that lets you skip a bunch of the intended route for that part of the level. So we're already coming up on the mini-boss, so that went extremely well so far. Other than a small minor mistake with the steam geyser. And now we're gonna do a really cool trick that was discovered by a runner named Cube King called 10B skip. as in spelled out like a chicken tender, like chicken tendy. So I'm gonna attack him here, and he's gonna do this knockback attack. I'm gonna jump up at the very end of the attack, and that, for whatever reason, will kill the boss instantly. The reason why we believe that trick works is that in previous games made by the same company, which is called Heavy Iron Studios, you may actually be familiar with them with the Disney Infinity series. Fun fact. In some of their previous games, they left triggers in the level that were meant for debugging purposes that instantly it triggered the end of a boss fight. So we believe that by doing that trick, we launch Spongebob up into one of those triggers that causes the end of the fight to occur. That saves around 45 to 50 seconds or so. So getting that first try was really good. And now we're going to be heading into Murmler. This is normally in the any % category a level that takes 10 seconds, but because the level skip glitch is banned, we're going to have to do a really cool strat instead, using a similar out of bounds trick. So I'm going to hold forward during the cutscene to instantly turn Spongebob around as soon as he loads in. Then I'm going to jump up the slope. I'm gonna play it a little safe here. There we go. Up to this railing, and we're out of bounds, as simple as that. And now what we're gonna do is backtrack over this way, and we need to gain a bunch of height. So I'm gonna jump at this pillar in a specific way to clip me through in a wall from out of bounds. Then jump up here with a precise jump, and then unload and reload the level to clip into this stalagmite, I believe is what it's called. And now we're on top of the ceiling of the second to last chamber here. So I'm gonna go for this strat because it's really sick and it saves around 30 seconds or so. I go right here, and then it instantly clips me back inside this room. Okay, good. And then these pipes all have collision, which we can use as platforms to get to the final combat fight. That was a little scary. So I'm gonna kill that guy as soon as he spawns in. Okay, so if you're too slow to killing them before they spawn in, so I'm gonna, I have to be really careful here to maintain my cannon shot ammo. And honestly, I'm gonna focus here a bit because this is one of the hardest fights to optimize. There we go. Okay, that was really good. So the basic pattern I try to use there is for the spinner robots is hammer, slam, cannon shot, and then spin. In a lot of cases, unless they're so isolated from an enemy, then I will just go for the second cannon shot. So there we put the cannon shot to good use, and then I also tried to chain my spins into other enemies just to keep them from A, damaging me, and B, just put them in hit stun so I can start attacking them earlier. That fight's really tricky to get down optimally, but that went fairly well, so I'm happy with how that Murmler went in general. Alright, so now we've got Robo Squidward. There's another chance for a long load here to happen, so hopefully it doesn't happen. Knowing how the game has been treating me today, it probably will, but we'll see what happens. This loading screen also just takes a long time to load in general, so it may look like we're getting a long load when we actually aren't. We'll see what happens here. I think that's good. That might be actually a long load. Yeah, I think that long loaded. Gosh dang it. That also doesn't happen very often, but of course, the game is doing everything in its power to stop me this run, which is fitting for a marathon run. It should still be on pace to come underestimate by a fair bit, but we'll see what happens here. So anyway, this is Robo Squidward. So what I'm going to do here is grab this buff power up and then do a spin hop in order to hopefully avoid getting hit by those spinner robots. Perfect. Okay. If the spinner robots manage to catch you on your way back from dealing damage to Robo Squidward, they'll actually cancel the hit that you did to Squidward there. And the hit just doesn't register because this game is evil. So I had to be really careful there. But I managed to get the fastest strat there, which is nice. Okay, so there's a small chance that he doesn't do that taunt animation there. So, that sucks. And then Robo Squidward's peekaboo patterns are always the same, so I know exactly when to time them. So after this cutscene, I'm gonna mash spin in order to take care of this guy so he doesn't hurt me, and then I can just ride the gumball wad all the way over here. And we got both taunts. That's really unlucky. Alright, and that's Robo Squidward, so we played the fight as well as we could have. But the game just decided to be evil. Alright, and that's the Robo Squidward fight. Alright, so now we're moving on into Act 3. So Act 3's got 3 more levels to it. Normally we would skip that boss fight and then the next 2 levels coming up in the any percent category. So that's a big reason why I like running this category, is you get to see 2 whole full new levels. And upcoming is what I would probably consider. Everyone has their preference or their choices to the hardest level in this category. I personally think it's this level. So there's not a lot of really big glitches in this category that we abuse here. In other categories, there's a really major skip that allows us to skip having to do most of this level in the first place. But in this category, this is mostly movement based. So we're going to be doing some really cool strats here to optimize our movement. So this fight, this level, sorry, starts off fairly normal. But because I'm... Oh, okay. Do not push me. Okay. The game almost decided to be a mega jerk there. I'm gonna play it safe here. You can go all the way to that gumball over there. But it's a really precise jump, and I'm already far enough behind that a death there would be a little nonsensical to stomach. So what I'm gonna do here is, this rail acts like jellyfish jelly, so I have to slide there in a very precise way to get up to those cardboard boxes. And then I can use these boxes over here to jump around a cutscene trigger to avoid a bunch of enemies spawning in. And the cutscene that follows. So, oh, come on, Spongebob. So, I'm gonna use this... Oh gosh, am I dead? Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo this trick. Okay. If you take a little bit long there, the acid rises and falls, so... Uh-oh. Sorry for the phone call in the background. Let me just do this trick again real quick. There we go. So I didn't have enough height there that last time because of the goo rising and falling, so... No, I'm not going to answer the phone. Can't pause the game, Mom! Alright. Uh-oh. That's the other phone. Do I pick up the phone? I think I have to pick up the phone. Gosh dang it. Alright. Alright, hold on 1 second. Hey, buddy, can you call me later? Buddy? Okay. That was my brother. And there's no reception down here, so the call dropped. Oops. Alright. So I did a trick there called gum skip. Normally you have to do a puzzle there where you have to raise up the acid level to platform over there. But by jumping in a specific spot there, you can just... Wow, thanks game. And the game decided to take my buff. Literally everything that can go wrong is going wrong today. I'm so sorry. I'm trying my best to keep a level head here. Alright, there we go.
I must be a genius or something.
Yeah, okay, just give me 1 second. I'm really flustered because my family is trying to find me and hunt me down.
Do you ever feel like your life is just one big game?
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm so sorry. They didn't tell me they were gonna call, so I really apologize. Hard to focus. Oh. Everyone's trying to get... Jeez. Literally everything that is going wrong... okay, you get the point. Nope, I'm not dying today. Okay. So it's unfortunate we lost our buff power up there, but there's another one that's coming up ahead, so... We're gonna avoid that Patrick power up there. I don't know why they give it to you, because you need to use the spin power up. So if you were to want to use it optimally, you'd have to actually, like, get sucked up by the flower there, which is kind of goofy. We didn't make that cycle? Interesting. Alright, so we're gonna get another buff power up here. Alright, we didn't click to do our grace, that's unfortunate. You can do that there to like save things. But now this is kind of the point of no return with the buff power up. I have to make, oh gosh, this is a really unfortunate okay, we're good. I have never seen this game try to screw me over in such a spectacular fashion before. This is actually kind of hysterical. Alright, so these robots always spawn in the same position, so I'm just pathing over it to where they're gonna spawn in next. And then by using that trampoline, I can actually chain another spin boost during that or spin hop during that cutscene. So this part's got some hard platforming here, so 3. And then I can leave early with the help of a spin. And then most of this is just really scary spin hop and movement, because you have to avoid all these lasers, and it's just a giant death trap here. So I gotta be really careful here. So I'm probably gonna shut up and just focus here and let the movement do the most of the talking. Gonna play it safe here. Alright, so we got through that area, that's great. We still have the buff power, that's what I'm looking for at this point. So this is the hallway of hell. Oh, he almost hit me, and that's why we call it the hallway of hell. He will hunt you down and try to steal your buff power from you, and he is just evil. But we managed to get through here, and now we're gonna be doing another spin boost here. Normally by using the tubs here, it actually automatically gets rid of any buff power up you have. But by the power of spin boosting, you can just ignore that and keep buff over here, which is not normally intended. So that's gonna let us do some really cool tricks here at the end of the level. So you finally got a level that's going okay. Again, I apologize for the game being a complete jerk. I promise the game is not normally this evil. But I took a little shortcut there, which causes the camera to freak out, so I have to be a bit careful there. So I'm gonna do a spin boost up here. Now this is normally a cannon shot puzzle where you're supposed to leave these explosive bomb bots over here. Did I actually just fail this trick? Gosh dang it. Okay, yeah, I hyped myself up too much. So now we don't have the buff power, that sucks. Yikes. Holy moly. I am just trying to keep a straight face right now. Oh boy.
I am the sponge.
Well, so we're gonna be going for a backup strat there instead. I was gonna go for the cool strat, but the game decided to clip some of my momentum there for no, like, really good reason. So let's try this again. Well, not this trick, because I don't want to put us in the hole further than we already are. But I'm gonna get one of these guys over here to perform a spin boost off of, and then that just lets us get over the barrier and do this challenge for free. And then we actually have to go get a boom bot. Oh, and wow, and my controller disconnected. So it's during the cutscene, so it really doesn't matter. But like, it's just rubbing salt in the wound. Like, come on. Can you just be nice to me, game?
I hope I don't lose my lunch. This is kind of neat. Return to category 5. I feel 32% happier.
Alright, so because we don't have to worry about losing the buff power up, I'm just gonna take the damage boost here.
Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie.
And so this combat fight looks a lot different with the buff power up. We're going to be getting Squidward again here, thankfully. So I'm just going to take care of this guy first. So if you position them the right way, the spinner robots will always just kind of start running towards you without like actually really doing anything of substance. Okay, we got him, nail this guy. Okay, he's fine. Somewhat close to me.
I am Spongebob, robot reductionist. Locked out, coming through.
Next guy's probably gonna be here. Perfect. Alright, so that fight went about as well as it could have for not having the buff power up, and that's the end of the segment. So I got to show off a lot of the cool movement there, so I'm not really too disappointed. Death was kind of sucky though, it happens sometimes. Alright, and now we're coming up on Karate Island here. This used to be by far the longest segment in the run. And now it's just about even with a bunch of the other segments in this game because of a really crazy glitch that was found last fall. Now it's going to let us skip about half of this level here. And if you manage to actually play this game casually, you might remember how long this level takes casually. And then you may be surprised at how quickly we're going to destroy it here. Yeah, so let's just load into the level here. And hopefully it goes well because this trick's really hard. Whew. Alright, so right here, I'm doing a cutscene skip by going to the left over there. The trigger for it is just too small, so you can just jump to the left and avoid it entirely. And then right here, we got really good luck. You want to hit this platform for the puzzle without any of the robots coming up on it. So the game actually decided to play nice, and we got the optimal no robots on the path pattern that almost never happens. So the game threw me a really small bone right there. And so we're gonna do a little thing right here where we jump up this piece of collision that you're not supposed to be able to get this buff power up right here. And I'm just gonna murder some robot friends here, and we're just gonna grab whatever power up comes first here. And then we're just gonna murder all the robots. So rather simple here. And this guy should, oh, he's in the perfect spot. So the idea is you wanna just make sure that you kill him quickly enough. You can, there is, oh gosh, okay. There is such a thing as killing him so fast that you just end up having to wait around more time anyway. But that was about as optimal as I could ask for, so sick. So I'm jumping on the Tikis over there just to avoid the enemies. It's really important for movement and just speed purposes that we have the buff power up for this trick. So I actually just realized that I didn't have audio in one of my ears. So we're just gonna easily get out of bounds right here. That's the easy part. The rest of this part is really, really hard. So we're gonna actually backtrack from out of bounds back to basically towards the beginning of the level here. So this is all just really tight movement off lots of planes and floors that don't really exist. I'm gonna jump up this rock in order to get higher up here. Okay, playing it a bit safe here. So this is the chamber where we got the good luck, where we were just in. And now we're progressing over the hallway. I have to be really careful here because the planes that extend past the invisible walls are really small. So let's hope I get this trick. So this is the first part. Okay, that's the first part, good. We hit it. And then over here, this is really scary. Okay, good. Jumped around a really big swath of walls over there. Come on. So I fell to a spot I'm not supposed to fall to. So, okay, we got inbounds. Great, okay. That was really scary for a moment, but we are safely inbounds and at the end of the level. And that saves like 3 minutes. Alright, I didn't screw something up. Thank God. So this is Demento. He's a bit of a doofus, so there is a strategy to this fight where I'm essentially trying to manipulate him to the middle of the wall there as best as I can. It's a little tricky. That way he gets to the center where he becomes vulnerable a little bit faster. So there is speed strategy to this fight. However, because the game decides to take our buff power-up away from us at the beginning of this stage, we only really have access to this in non-buff form, so we gotta hit him 6 times, which kind of sucks. It's chill, so we're just gonna be cozy. Just kind of chill out here while I manipulate this boss to his demise. So yeah, I'm really tempted at this point just to see what pace I'm on. Right? Come on, game. Just don't register my hit, sure. Don't mess with Demento when he's not spinning. He wasn't spinning. What are you talking about, man? So typically the way I like to do the manipulation is I get him over to the left, and then if I manipulate him over to the left again, he usually gets perfectly into the center. That's typically the most consistent way you can do it. But he likes to try to pass to you even when he's like, when you're behind him. So his movement can be kind of finicky sometimes. This is looking alright so far. Halfway there.
I'd rather be jellyfishing. Hey, that'll make a good moment.
Well. Okay, I fixed the minute. Dang, I'm sick. That was kind of interesting. So, let's not do that again. Luckily though, I'm at no risk of dying here, so that would be like the only major way to choke at this point. And one more hit and we're done with the fight. So probably the last like final frontier of this category. There's a couple more things we could find that would really save time, but we've been doing a lot of research. We've been doing a lot of research trying to find ways to sneak the buff power up in here unintentionally. But we haven't found anything yet. So hopefully one day we make a discovery that. Because with a cheat, you can actually use the buff power-up in here, and it would allow us to through-cycle the fight, which would make it a lot more bearable. We're also looking into ways to potentially skip the fight entirely if there's another trigger like there is with the Tenderizer boss fight that would just kill it instantly. But we do not know yet of a method. So there's still definitely some research to be done, especially in this category. So that was a good Karate Island. I am happy with how that went. So now we're going to be moving on into the final boss. Almost towards the end of the run. Sorry this has been such a disaster, y'all. I expect mistakes with whatever marathon run I get, but the fact that we got both slow loads, we had the game crash early, like, so much has gone wrong that I'm struggling to take this run even seriously anymore, so I'm trying to do my best to keep my chin up here. But yeah, this is Roboplankton. He is the final boss here. And after some loading screen and cutscene, we're going to get off into the first phase. So the phases are divided up into 2 separate segments. There are these rooftop phases and core phases. So for these rooftop phases, we're kind of just following along on the rooftops, directly ripped from Creature from Krusty Krab. And then our goal here, similar to the fight at the end of Murmulair, is just to make sure we kill these robots as fast as possible. So I'm going to try to line up for a double here. There we go. And then he won't knock this down until you kill all the enemies, so it's important that we get that taken care of. And then this is another good example of a level where we need to maintain the buff power up as much as we can. It's definitely good for movement, especially once we get inside the core of inside the belly of the beast here. but it's also really important for speeding up the waves of enemies that come in the later rooftop phases. So I'm gonna lure his haymaker over here, so I can hit it back as far as possible. I do not know why he tattooed a target onto the back of his hand. Kind of a flex, but I'll just take it. So there's gonna be a excuse me. There's gonna be a buff power up right here, and then we have to destroy 3 generators each phase. So obviously the buff power up's gonna be really helpful here. And I'm gonna try to distract these hammer bots because they're really good at taking your buff power up. And then I also try to keep the spinner robots closed because it turns out the enemies can actually deal damage to a Roboplankton here, which is really hysterical. So I'm going to be trying to keep some of the spinners alive because they're the ones who deal the most damage over time. I'm going to wait here because going any faster doesn't speed him up. And now that we have the buff power up, we're going to just rip through these enemies really fast, which is the main reason why we try to keep it through here. Otherwise, if you don't have the buff here, it's really annoying to kill these guys. Go. He's gonna punch the building, probably kill a bunch of civilians. Alright, so I actually wait there a little bit because if you try to go there right away, the steam that comes out of the vent is actually present. Its texture just hasn't loaded in yet. I don't know why, but you have to wait there a little bit or also take damage and lose your buff. There's an extra buff power up in each phase of the fight. You just don't want to lose it because they're a bit out of the way. That's just suboptimal. Alright, there we go. And now we're going to enter core 2. And because I have the buff power up as well, I can actually take a faster route through this core phase because there is a generator right behind me. Alright, there we go. I'm gonna hit this guy on purpose just so he doesn't mess with me later. And then I clink off of him on purpose because there's a lot of end lag if you mash the spin button where you can't spin hop for a little bit. Good, okay. I'm not worried about losing buff power up here. You can actually lose it during the cutscene because it's a wonderfully programmed game. But they give you a free one here in this phase. And then afterwards, it doesn't matter if I lose it going into the final core phase, because there's another trigger like in Karate Island at the end where it just takes away your buff power up for no discernible reason. So that kind of sucks, but just gotta murder these robots real quick and we'll be good to go. So the tower's just gonna fall over without him even punching it because we killed everything so fast. And then there's an invisible water geyser going right now, so I'm waiting for the building to fall. Just as a safety precaution. So that piece of debris went flying, that's really funny. Really glad, I don't want to jinx it, but I'm really glad the run is actually starting to go kind of normal now. And then in this phase, he's gonna go super crazy on us. And he's gonna shoot at us 4 times. Which I can actually just reflect if you really wanted to. It really doesn't matter though. And we're about to go into the core phase for the last time. Alright. Almost done. So we got 3 more generators, and then time ends on the final hit to the heart. So get ready on time. Coming up here in around 30 seconds or so. And time. Alright, we finished the run. Alrighty. That is Spongebob's Truth or Square, any percent no LSG. Thank you all for watching. I'm sorry that run was such a dumpster fire. Out of morbid curiosity, what was my time?
I love it when a plan comes together.
I'm gonna guess 52 minutes.
Yeah! That's how we do things.
Oh, okay, that wasn't as bad
What is this?
as I thought it
Kind
would
of
be.
mutiny? Why aren't you flipping
But dang,
patties for the big
everything that
circus?
could go wrong
Time is
went
money.
wrong that run, which is
This
really
so
unfortunate.
horrible, Mr. Krabs.
But you know what? You gotta roll with the punches when you're speedrunning. So that was a lot of fun as chaotic as it was. Thank you all for watching. If you're interested in picking up the game after this terrible display that I've put on, check out the SRROC page. We've got a link to the Discord and some tutorials there. Good place to check. And yeah, that's all I really have. I don't want to disgrace the stream anymore, so I'm gonna hop off. Thank you for having me, everyone.